like to welcome everybody to our Monday Mastermind with GrowGlobal. We are here to help you grow your business, grow your network, and grow your life. As agents, we know that it's very important to talk to other people, right? To talk to other agents. And a lot of times agents in your local market, they don't want to help you out, right? Because they view you as competition. But here, we're all here to help each other. And so because this is an interactive communication, we're going to have you, as you have questions come up, go ahead and put them in the chat box down there, and then we'll be able to read your questions for our guests. So ask them as we're going along. And at the end, we'll also have a Q&A where you'll be able to actually unmute your mic and ask your question there. So today we're going to be talking about that pesky thing that happens with agents or with buyers, sorry, well, agents are pesky too sometimes, but with buyers and sellers waiting. Hey, I want to wait. I'm hearing terrible stuff in the news about real estate. I should wait. And the fact of the matter is, waiting can cost your clients, right? How many of us, raise your hand if you said, it's going to cost you money to wait. But then they say to you, well, how so? And you're like, well, I don't know, right? Well, this today is going to give you some ammunition to actually come back at them with data. And so today, we have Brian Hamilton with us. Now, Brian's out of Chicago, and funny enough, he's actually with Chicago Title. He's been with them for 21 years in the industry. So everybody give a warm welcome, nice applause to Brian for being a survivor, right? Couple decades in the business. He's responsible for the Chicago metro market. He focuses in resale, investor, and the construction markets. But today, what he's going to be offering us is a tool to use and go to our buyers and to explain to them how it's going to cost them money. And he's going to be screen sharing with us. So you're going to enjoy that. So Brian, take it away, man. We appreciate you being on here with us today, teaching all of us agents how to sell more houses and to have a tool to keep people from the dreaded thing. I want to wait.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you. I'm going to share my screen here, so hopefully everybody can see that now. And then, if any of you have the mobile app, Chicago Agent One, Fidelity One, Palm Agent One, anything like that, or a few different names, that's kind of the app that I'm going to be working through today. What I'm looking at here, what you guys see on the screen is the desktop version of it. If you do download it, you'll have access to it via a desktop or through a mobile device as well. So,
hey, Brian, I know I'm going to get this question from people a bunch. So can we put it in the chat, like the link for them to order it, or do you have a special one later you're going to give us to order it through you?
No, I can throw it in there. Let's see here. Let me find the chat.
I just know that's a question we're going to get right out of the gate. Well, how do I download it? We'll just do a preemptive strike here and give it to them so they got it right out of the gate.
Yeah. So you can go into to any of your app stores, and it will be so whatever you're using, whether you're on an Android, an Apple, it'll be in there under Chicago Agent One. And just type that into your search bar and you'll see it. You can pull it up, download it. And you're going to see that there's a free version, there's a premium version. I don't make any money on this, but I will highly suggest that you fork out the $10. It's $10 a year, so it's pretty darn inexpensive, and it opens up all the tools for you, right? So it's going to open up all the calculators, and that's what we're going to really focus on today is 2 calculators that are really geared towards getting buyers and sellers off the fence, right? So this app works wherever you're at, anywhere in the nation. You can drill it down to your own area. My area is going to be focused on Chicago Metro. So when I go and I play with different figures, I can pull down different towns, different counties, things like that. And it's going to pull in fees and figures for those counties as well. So, but the first one we're going to focus on here is going to be our buy now or buy later, right? And our whole goal here is to really provide you guys the math so that you can have that communication or that discussion with the buyers and sellers that really shows you, hey, buying now is the right time to do it, right? And if you don't, this is what's happening. Right? This is what you're going to lose out financially by doing that, right? So as we all know, inventory has been is low. right? Demand is high, right? Even with interest rates going up, we're still seeing plenty of buyers looking to buy, and just really need the inventory. So we're going to see that home prices are going to continue to increase, right? And this is what's going to really help us drill into consumers, what they're missing out by waiting, right? So this calculator is going to look at 4 areas in it, right? So it's going to look at their cost for buying it today, how that cost and appreciation affects them, if they turn around and refinance it down the road, how that appreciation really affects what they're paying for that money, and then what their break even is if they would decide that they were to wait on it. So I'm just going to punch in here a home sale price of $450,000. I'm going to leave the down payment, the interest rate's all the same. I'm going to hit compute on here, and immediately it pops up for me on the right here, and it shows us, all right, if they're going to buy this today with 10% down, interest rates are a little under 7% now, which is great. It's just going to detail what their total payment is, what they're going to bring to close, and it's going to have all the detailed closing costs in there, right? So it's going to have everything figured out for them, what their prepaids are with their lender, their title fees. Again, these fees are going to be based in the Chicago market that you're looking at, so you might be a little shocked by some of the fees possibly. Different lender fees, and then other fees that are a part of the deal, right? So that's pretty basic. Where it starts to get better is when we click on appreciation. Now we look at this and we say, hey, home values are going up, right? So if we were to buy this $450,000 house that we're looking at today, but we decide, hey, we want to wait 2 years, right? We know homes are appreciating, right? So we're using a rate of 3.5% right now. So in 2 years' time, that $450,000 house is now $482,000, right? So they're going to miss out on $32,000 appreciation by waiting 2 years, right? As we scroll down, it just kind of shows us we can play with this. If it was a depreciating market, we can, factor that in. We can play with different areas. Each market's got a little bit, is a little bit different, right? But this is just kind of showing what the experts are projecting for the next 12 months, right? So then we can click on refinance here. And now this is going to look at it and say, hey, we buy this now, and then in 2 years, if we go back and we want to refinance this property, it's going to show us, okay, hey, we bought it for $450,000. We're going to refinance it for $396,000 because we're going to pay down some principal, right? We're going to have a new payment of $3,650 as opposed to our original payment that was $4,045. But now if we wait the 2 years, right, interest rates stay the same. We're looking at a payment of $4,050, but now we're paying $482,000 for that property, right? You can play with interest rates to say, hey, if they're up, they're down for that purchase. But this is the key here, right? This is going to show them that, hey, you know what, you're going to miss out on, basically $32,000 in equity by waiting that 2 years, right? So instead of having 85,000 plus in equity, they're looking at 48,000. And then you'll notice in the device or on the desktop version, this little area here where there's a little smartphone and some arrows up and down. So if you're on a smart device, you would just take your device, turn it sideways and back up, and that will create some different figures for you. So in this one here, it's just going to show me. Let's see if I can pull this down. Let's close this out. It's going to show you basically what their equity is going to be if they were to hold this property for 5 years, right? So then you can quickly look at it and say, hey, if you plan on living for 5 years, we're buying now, you're looking at $116,000 in equity on that property. But if we move along from buy now to refinancing, we're going to look at how those interest rates actually affect the interest rate. So if we take appreciation and adjust that in with their interest rates, this is going to show them what they're really paying for that money, right? So if on this example we have 2 years, 6.875%, right? They're going to pay $55,000 in interest. but that's offset by that appreciation gain of 32,000. So now their adjusted rate of interest paid is 23,000. So they're really paying 2.85% on that money because of that appreciation, which would be totally lost if they sit back and they wait for interest rates or even for home prices to drop, which we know in the near future is really not realistic. And then we can also look here.
Hang on one second, Brian. For those of you who are logging on late, just so you know, we're talking with Brian Hamilton. He's out of the Chicago market. He's been doing this for a couple decades now, 21 years in the title industry. And what he's got for us here for agents is an app you can download to your Droid or to your iPhone. You just go in and you're going to look for in your app store the Chicago Agent One. It's got a measly $10 a year to do, and you're going to be able to use all these tools that he's showing us right here. Go ahead, Brian, get at it. We had agents sometimes show up late. You've never seen that happen before, you, Brian, in the title industry?
Never.
Agents show up late?
Never. Anytime I have a meeting, people are usually early, 10 minutes early, always. So, but then the last part of the calculator is the break even, right? And I'll show you after this that, there's a nice marketing piece that pulls this all together, right? So break even is looking at it and saying, hey, if you buy this now, right, 450,000, here's where we're at, 4,046. If we wait 2 years, right, we need to wait until interest rates drop to 5.86 to get back to that break even point as far as your monthly payment goes. And that's just looking at monthly payment. That's not even considering what you lost in the appreciation, right? The nice thing about each one of these steps is you can provide your clients, a nice marketing piece, a follow-up thing. Maybe you're doing open house. You can have some of these things set up for you beforehand. You can share them. They're all branded to you, but I'm just going to click on this print PDF here and pull up the sample. So it'll have 4 or 5 different options for you down the right side here. I'm going to go down to the bottom one just because now it takes everything we just kind of talked about in that calculator and put it onto one piece, right? So that, if you're going on a listing presentation or maybe you're working with some buyers, this is something you can have, prior to, print it out for them and go through it, right? And so now you have that, a nice side-by-side piece, that shows each thing. Hey, if we buy today, this is what we're looking at, right? This is where we see home prices going. This is what we're looking at, future value of this property that we're looking at in 2 years. Here's that appreciation adjusted rate here, down where our break-even point is if we're looking, today compared to down the road. Again, what happens if we refinance? It's probably one of the best sections right now because, the thought out there is that interest rates are going to pull back some. Are we going to get back down to, 2.5%, 3%? Odds are probably not, right? But there's a good chance that they're going to be pulling back. So, buy now, take advantage of that, appreciation, refinance down the road, and it's going to save you money in the long run, right? So this is showing what their yearly savings are on there as well. And then the final piece there is, again, just kind of looking at, hey, down the road, if you're looking to sell 5 to 7 years, here's what you're looking at, right? There's always life events that go on in the market, whether, it's families adding kids, people moving out, downsizing, financial issues, divorces, all that stuff. That's all creates opportunity. So it just creates that communication with clients that, hey, today's market is a good market to be buying it, right? And not sitting on the sidelines and waiting, especially if you're talking, first-time home buyers, people like that, they really need to be in the market as soon as possible.
You know what I'm seeing here, Brian, is agents are always struggling to come up with content for their social media and things like this. This would be incredible for someone to dial this up, do one that's based on the hypothetical numbers for their area, right? An average house in their area, the average rate and things going on, and make this. And you said because they have this app, it's going to be branded to them. And so they can put this out on their social media with the right disclaimers, right?
Exactly. So as you see at the bottom here, it's all branded to me since it's my account here, but this would be, your photos, your contact info, your logos in here would be all a part of this, right? And the nice thing too is, you can download, like I said, in the free version, you won't get access to certain calculators. You don't get access to up at the top where you'll see premium. And with that premium, not only do you get, marketing pieces like this, but at the start of every single month, you get a monthly marketing package from us with 4 topics that are relevant to today's market, whether it's interest rates, home values, buy down calculators, something we're going to talk about here in a second. But that actually comes to you at the beginning of the month, 4 pieces that you can go on. You can spend, 15 minutes at the start of the month. And you can schedule those to go out and hit your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever social media you use. You do that at the start of the month and boom, you've got, every week you've got a new post that's coming out that's fresh, it's relevant. And it just all speaks to the experts that you guys are in this market, and just drives people to have more conversations with you.
Yeah, I think you could really make a great video out of this even for it. You could pull up your own Zoom by yourself privately and put yourself as a little person up in the corner and then have this on your desktop and talk about it as you scroll through with the mouse, and then put that on your YouTube and break it down into smaller pieces for Instagram and TikTok and things like that. I think that's great.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And you'll see, in the premium section too, there's a lot of pieces too that are, each piece is designed for each social media platform, right? So if it's Facebook or Instagram, right, they have different requirements for how you post, right? So everything's built multiple ways so that it fits that media source. So if you're doing swipables, things like that, it's all designed for each outlet. So I don't know if anybody has any questions on this calculator here.
Brian, I know one of the questions we're going to get while people are thinking there for a second is if they don't have a Chicago title rep, where do they get one if they've already got a rep somewhere else?
Yeah, so if you don't have a rep, you can always reach out to me and I can get you set up with somebody locally. The one nice thing about being with the company for as long as I have is I do have contacts nationwide. So I can definitely get you introduced to either somebody from Chicago Title, or if we don't have a local operation there, at least get you paired up with one of our sister companies that's part of the F&F brands. So. And if you want, I can I'll throw my email in the chat area so that if anybody wants to reach out or has questions,
that'll be great. And we'll put it on the recording. We'll also put it in the comments section on there. If you get spam too much, we'll pull it out. If get people from all over the internet spamming you out, we'll do that. But it should be good to go. Oh, great. So you put it there, Brian.Hamilton@ctt.com. So we'll make sure that goes down in the description and things like that for people who are watching the recording, so they have that.
Awesome. So yeah, so this calculator here really designed to hit that financial side of the conversation with people of why they shouldn't be waiting, right? So it's a tool, and it really fits in today's market 100%. So the next
Hey, Brian, we had a question from Tracy Wiggins. She's down in Georgia and Tennessee, and she's saying she tried to do the app and it's saying it's not showing up on there. Is that possible?
So it's not showing up in the App Store. So
in her area, she says, she goes, I may have missed it, but did he say if it's not in your area, he has another alternative? Tracy, you want to unmute Tracy and ask the question so we understand it better?
No, sure. You have it. You had my question right. I went to the app and it asked what state are you in, and Tennessee and Georgia are not options on there. There's only certain states. Like it's not even 50 for sure. It's about maybe 15 or so.
Okay. So you know what? So if you want to shoot me an email, what I will do is I'll reach out to one of our local operations in those areas, and it just might be something that they just need to add to their side, and then it'll be accessible.
Sure. Thank you.
Jennifer Mendoza says she has it from your sister company, Lawyer's Title. So there you go. Yeah. So you get an endorsement on it right there. And again, for those of you who are getting on late, we're speaking here with Brian Hamilton out of Chicago, and he's sharing with us a tool to help get buyers and sellers off the fence, right? So a lot of sellers are sitting on the fence because they don't want to go buy at a higher interest rate. And you can use this tool also to help get your sellers to get their house on the market where they're sitting on a ton of equity, and looking at the fact that maybe with depreciation rates, these rates really aren't that bad to buy when you take a look at it like this. So great stuff, Brian. Keep going.
All right.
Quick question. I'm sorry if I could. So the sister company, Lawyer's Title, can we go there? Is that an app as well? Or do we just wait? Okay.
No, I mean, you can check there. You can check. So there should be a few brands that you can check under. You can check under Fidelity Agent 1, Lawyers Agent 1, Commonwealth, and Alamo.
Okay, we need to put those in the chat. Thank you.
So Brian, how's that work? So different title companies, they rebrand in different states, but they're the same underwriter and they go with different names. Is that how that works?
Yeah, so it's not so much that. So what it is that our parent company, Fidelity National Financial, has several brands that they own underneath. And a lot of times as we each market's different when, throughout the nation, right? There's different criterias in each area. Chicago Title, we are in all states. Some we have direct operations, some we don't. But it's just different brands that we've purchased over the years, kept those name brands. There's some markets that we actually compete directly against each other on. But yeah, it's just branding.
Love it. You got a question from Jacob Bell out of Boston. He's got a question. Let's hear that.
Right.
We got the Chicago accent going on. Let's hear that Boston accent.
So you guys down south, you got to move up here. We have everything. Okay. It might be colder, but we have everything. So my question is, your personalization on here, is that when you pay the $10, you were able to do that, put your picture on and
yeah, so you can put your picture on the free version, right? And there's certain things. So when you on the free version, like you can go in and start with the free version, and it'll show you which calculators and what sections are locked off from you. But what you will have access to is the tab here for buyers and sellers, right? So there's a buyer's tab here where we go in, you can pop in, the address of a property. It's going to pull up, what the taxes are, things like that, brand everything to that address. And then it'll do a calculation for that buyer. Yeah. Hey, what they need to bring for down payments, what their closing costs are going to be. Same thing on the seller side. It will do a net sheet for them, and it will have a simple marketing piece that you can share with your photo and your branding on there for that.
Cool.
So
yeah. My next question is, why not do this? You mentioned do it prior. Why not ask them for numbers? Say, okay, what do you think a house is worth? You know what I mean? And so people don't argue with their own data. You ever hear that? So if they put the numbers in, right? So have you had experience?
No, that's honestly that is the best way to do it, right? And that's why having it on a mobile device is fantastic, right? Because you can actually sit there with them, whether you're on a tablet or a smartphone, and you can turn around and show those numbers to them. And that's like when I meet with agents one-on-one and I show them something like this here, I always turn my iPad around. I let them play with it, right? So that they have that responsibility. And you'll see, if you get into the premium section, there's some lead generation tools in there that do exactly that. You can post them to your social media pages for like net sheets, for example, and it actually
money's a conceptual thing,
Exactly.
Right? Money's a conceptual thing. So we're saying 450. They might be thinking 4.5 million.
Yeah, right. I'm trying to keep the numbers easy for people, right? So that's where we keep it there. So, but yeah, so there's calculators in here, but this whole app started as a buyer's calculator and a net sheet tool, and it's really evolved over the years into more detailed calculators, whether it's looking at equity that people have in their homes. Maybe you work with investors that like to do fix and flip projects, things like that. So it's really expanded into a lot of areas. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, so buy now versus buy later, we went over. But the other tool that's kind of hot in the market right now are buy down calculators, right? So there's really a few of them out there. The big one right now is probably the 2-1 buy down. If you're not familiar with buy downs, it really is a strategy for both a buyer and a seller to create interest as opposed to coming in with offers on properties, high or low, and kind of come in at list price and offer some buy down options to save people money, right? So the popular one now is a 2-1 buy down. So what that is somebody's coming in, they're going to pay X amount of dollars to buy that interest rate down, 2 percentage points for the first year, 1 percentage point for the second year, and then the third would be the years 3 to 30 would go back to whatever the established interest rate is, right? So a great tool for somebody that's maybe going to only live in a house for 5 to 7 years, right? As opposed to locking in for long term. You have permanent buy downs as well, where you go in, you buy that rate down today, and you have that for the life of that mortgage, right? So this calculator is going to look at how that's an advantage, when you're talking to a seller, right, that's maybe struggling to sell a home and they want to add some more bells and whistles, offering a 2-1 buy down as opposed to just dropping their list price could be a good tool for them, right? But we'll be able to also look at saying, hey, if they're looking at a 3-2-1 buy down, which would be 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, or permanent, how that affects them over, the 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years term, right? So I'm going to stick with our same 450 price just because we have it in here. We're going to look at a buy down of the 2-1 buy down, but you'll see in the drop down here, you could do a permanent buy down or a 3-2-1. We'll leave our down payment, all that the same. We'll hit compute, and then over here on the right is where it's going to kind of give us those details, right? Here's the list price, what the benefits are to the buyer, right? I set this up as a paid by seller contribution, right? So the seller would be paying at the closing table, just shy of $9,400 to buy that rate down. The 2 year, the 2 and the 1, right? So we're looking here, okay, our list price $450. If we do a 2-1 buy down at $450 as well, here's our interest rates down 2%, 1% back to the 6.875. And this is how it affects the buyer, right? So instead of $4,046, they're going to have a $3,500 payment, then $3,700, $3,800, and then back up to $4,000. This shows their monthly savings that they're getting by this, and then what their annual savings is, right? So really, that money that's being put down to buy down this rate is actual hard savings for the client. And then they still have that advantage of getting in there, taking advantage of that appreciation, and not losing out on that, right? So great tool for a seller that is trying to drum up some more business or more activity on their listing, right? And then the bottom half of this will kind of show you, hey, how does this affect the seller, right? So yes, right, they're going to pay $9,400 to as their contribution for this buy down, right? So they don't see that full $9,300 come out of their pocket just because other fees, things like that, do drop down. So yes, they do net a little bit less, but again, better than them looking at dropping their list price by $10,000.
Hey, Brian,
right?
back in the day, 22 years ago, I mean, almost every deal we did here in Ohio was a 2-1 buy down. There weren't any deals that weren't done with the 2-1 buy down back then. But, a lot of times it just got added on top of the sales price where the seller didn't have to lose, I'm using air quotes here, lose money. They just added it on top of the sales price. And basically, the buyers knew that they were financing this lower rate over the next couple of years, which had a lower payment. And maybe they had a promotion coming, or they were going to be getting married. They were going to have a dual income in 2 years down the road. And they're going to be able to afford the fully amortized payment, right? On year 3 through 30. It was a great way to get people in. especially young people when they're first starting off in their careers, those raises are usually pretty hefty in the beginning when they're just getting out of college and things like that. It was a great way to get young people into homes.
Exactly. And that's the nice thing about the buy downs is that, like you mentioned, the lenders will finance that. Right. So that's something that, you can come in on the buy side and say, hey, this house is listed for 450. We're going to do 460 and ask for, a 2-1 buy down. Right. As part of it. So then it gets financed. And it's all part of the deal, like you mentioned. So, but again, with this here, so I can click on loan details. It'll kind of detail out a little bit more as far as your savings. But if I go to compare here and I just hit the little sideways button, it pulls up a nice feature where we can take a look and say, okay, well, there's other buy down options out there, like a permanent buy down. So we're going to use this to do a little comparison of the 2-1 buy down in general on how this affects, this deal, but then also how that is versus a permanent buy down, right? So again, a really nice little marketing piece that is
These would be great, Brian, these would be great to have it like your open house. Like if you're sitting there, right? It's a nice little handout. It's got your contact information on it. Maybe people aren't aware of a 2-1 buy down, how it works. It's a great way to start a conversation with somebody, build some rapport, and pick up some unrepresented buyers. Even if they're not interested in buying the house you're sitting in on the open house, you can take that and apply that to other properties they may be looking at. But it's just a great conversation starter that probably most agents are not having some type of tool like this, I would bet, at their open house.
Exactly. And that's the name of the game is communication, getting out there, talking to people, right? And all that this stuff here does is just reinforces that you're the person that they should be working with, right? But again, it kind of reads itself, what's going on here, but it just lets people look and see, what's better, right? Hey, here's the list price, right? Here's what happens if it's a below list price offer that comes in, how that affects everybody from the buyer's payments to, what the seller nets. It compares our 2-1 buy down to our permanent buy down, right? So you can see that at the closing, it doesn't really affect whether it's a permanent or a 2-1, what that seller nets on it. But when we look at, more monthly savings and interest paid, things like that over periods of time, that's where it becomes more interesting, where you can really spell out to people that, hey, you know what? Hey, with this 2-1 buy down that first year, right? You're in year one, you're really saving $6,200, right? Year two, it's $3,700, over a 5-year period, $9,400, as opposed to a permanent buy down, right? Which is saving you over the long run, saving you $8,000 over that first 5 years. But if you have people that are coming in and they're going to be back on the market, in 5-7 years, the permanent buy down is not the way to go, because there's a lot of people in the market who'll say, well, if you're going to buy down at a rate, just buy it down for good. But we know real estate is fluid and people are in and out of houses on, a fairly regular basis. So I'll show you the monthly statement.
We know also, Brian, that people buy payment, right? They don't buy price. It's just like with cars, right? That's why they do leases on cars and things like that. Hey, you got a great question from Rob, and I have an answer to this, and you may be able to answer it too. But if a 2-1 buy down occurs, are homeowners being qualified on the current rate or on the buy down rate? It's the buy down rate. I'm sorry, it's on the end rate, the 3 through 30 rate, right, Brian?
Exactly. Yeah. So unfortunately, it doesn't change what they would qualify for. They still have to be able to make what that worst case payment would be. So it doesn't help the affordability side as far as what you can qualify for, but it does let them ease into and save some money early in the transaction. So but then it just shows you interest here as well, and then everything branded to you as well. And you can take all this stuff from the mobile device, from the desktop version. You can download it, you can share it directly to your social media with really just a couple clicks of the button. So I think buy down calculator is very important in today's market, because there's value on both sides. It's valuable to the buyers. it lets them come in, make some different unique types of offers. And it's also a tool for sellers that are trying to drum up some more activity on their homes, by advertising, hey, we're open to a 2-1, we'll pay for a 2-1 buy down, right? And again, like mentioned before, when you do this calculator, you do have the option when you're putting that information in to choose who's paying for it. So if you are working with a buyer that wants to add this to an offer, you can easily just switch it to say paid by buyer, hit compute, and then it changes all our numbers again. So if we go to, oops, this here, we'll see that when we compare them, that the net to the seller is going to be higher, right? But that is so. Those are two calculators I really wanted to go over with people.
Hey, Brian, what's the rent versus buyer tool that's on there? Is that just showing people that? I bet that's a great one. A lot of buyers coming up are all millennials. We got a lot of millennials in their 30s still that are still renting.
Yes. So give me what's a rent price in Columbus right now? Could be pretty expensive, I can imagine, around the
let's say 1,800.
All right, so we'll go 1,800. So what's a
first time home buyer house? 330.
All right, so we'll go 330,000. We'll use our same down payment. We'll do compute here. Now, what this is going to look at, it's going to show us, okay, right? So first we'll go over here. Let's go to I'm going to go to payments, right? So so a little bit of an adjustment, right? So they're looking at $2,600 payment as opposed to $1,800, right? And that's adjusted though, right? Because it's $2,900, and then it's taken into effect the tax savings that they would get, right? But then from a cost basis, right? This is going to show them that, hey, over a 6-year period, so it's going to take 6 years, 1 month before they're going to break even, right? So what their buying cost is to their rent cost, and that's not even taking into account what their equity they're going to gain, right? So we can click on equity and take a look here and say, okay, here's what your down payment is, your appreciation, what you're going to pay down in principal, and it's just going to show kind of your breakdown of pieces here, and then a net sheet, and then I'll show you at the end. There's a piece that kind of pulls it all together, but after 5 years, if they turn around and sell this place, right, it's going to show them, hey, here's what your balance is, your closing costs, and what you're going to net when you close. So let's just click on this here. And then this kind of shows down everything in a, all as one, right? What their home price is, interest rates, things like that, adjustments for tax savings, when their break even is. So, and obviously this would all vary based on, what people are paying and what homes they're going into, but it really is a great tool. And another piece that if you're looking to drum up business, through social media, places like that, a great piece that you can post, to your social media sites.
Yeah, that's great. I love the fact they even put maintenance in there, because a lot of times you hear renters say, well, there's cost of maintaining a home. They even have that calculated in. So I love that on there.
Exactly.
That's great.
So you can play with it, and it it comes in different formats, different templates that just read a little bit differently. Where nice thing is that if you want to go back to something, down the road you can in a just a little bit different look, and get more action from it. So yeah, so calculator side, there's really a lot there. Sell the net, what somebody needs to sell something for to make what they want, and qualifying stuff like that. So tons of tools in there. We're always coming out with new calculators on here as well. So like these top 4 are all new ones that are pretty recent. And then
all of that for $10.
All for $10, right? So it's what it is it's really obviously it costs a lot more to do that stuff, right? But this is a tool that we provide as a value add right? So like I said, the reason that we have tools like this, and we have many other things too, for lead generation, for marketing pieces, business planning, things like that. We really have a ton of tools. And they're all value add, because at the end of the day, we're not in the business to sell apps, things like that. We're in the title business. So the reason we do this is to help build relationships with our agents, build their business, which in turn gets us more title deals, right? So that's the whole reason that we have these things and that we share them, is so that at the end of the day, I get more title deals, and we do more business together.
I love this collaboration with this because, generating the business is the key. And I think one thing we've learned as agents is, even though these tools are available to every agent, probably, I guarantee, nobody in your marketplace, if you're here as an agent listening right now, nobody in your marketplace is going out and using this tool to put it out on social media and taking these pieces with them when they go on appointments to meet with a buyer, or when they go to an open house or something. They're just not doing it. And my theory is this: if I'm the only one talking about it, then it seems like I'm the only one that has that thing available, kind of like the 2-1 buy down. It's even if your client's not going to use it, it's a great conversation starter to differentiate yourself in the marketplace and make you stand out. So the fact that you can have the numbers behind you and not just say, hey, we can do a 2-1 buy down, get you a lower payment. You can actually show them some numbers, hypothetical numbers. I think it's genius. Great tool, Brian. I love it. So Rob had a question for you, Brian. He said, is there a document on here that shows the thresholds for the amount a buyer can use to buy down their rate? I have an answer to that, but what have you got on there, Brian?
So, there isn't. It's I think it's usually, I forget what I think it's like 10. Is it 10%? It might be 10% is what that buy down is. I don't know. That would be something to talk with the lender. But if you have something, Jim, can definitely.
You're right on what I was going to say, Brian. See, lending guidelines and things change so much. So I went to a Freddie Mac conference the other day, and Freddie Mac, since the beginning of 2023, has had over 700 guideline changes on Freddie Mac, right? Which is a stable product, right? A GSE. And so for agents to try to keep up with all that, I think we're crazy. We need to have a basic idea. We need to pique people's interest. And then you got to have a good lender partner and a great title partner like Brian would be here to bring in and let them be the expert. As agents, I don't think we need to be the experts on everything. We just need to be great connectors. We need to be the people that know the people that specialize in each place, just like we did with our tax person over the last couple masterminds we've had. Now we've got a title expert. Let them be the expert in their field, because it changes so much, just like we're an expert in the real estate field. That's my answer, I would say. Once you get somebody that interested, who has that question, bring in your lender partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it, partners. That's you should only be working, in my opinion, with partners, people that help you grow your business, and you grow theirs. It's the best combination.
You're only strong as your weakest link, right? Every real estate transaction has 17 moving parts. Any one of them can kill your deal, and you got to have strong people at each single place on there. So we're talking with Brian Hamilton again, Chicago Title, actually, funny enough, out of Chicago, and he's sharing all these secrets with us. The Chicago Agent One app, which also has many different names around the country. Lawyers Title, we're hearing out on the West Coast, and different things like that. Brian did put his email in the chat if anyone needs to email him and ask him a question on that. Also wanted to let everybody know, if you ever want to download the chat on a Zoom, there's 3 little dots down there at the bottom of the chat box. You can go ahead and click that, and it'll say save chat, and you can save the chat then to your desktop on that. But now would be a great time if anybody has questions. Yes, Laura, go for it.
Hey, Jim. Hey, Brian. How are you?
Hey,
this is Laura from Chicago. I'm driving, so I'm not on video right now. But I was the person that introduced Brian Hamilton, who's phenomenal, by the way. And Brian has been such a great resource and help for me. He helped me just over the weekend or last week with another app that they have. And I had a buyer, and we lost the bid on a property, and she wants to buy a townhouse in this particular area. And he jumped on with me, and we zoomed in, and I was able to get the leads. I got all the leads for this particular townhouse development for like $10. Then I plugged in all with their phone numbers, and I plugged in all their phone numbers into slide dial. So then I did a slide dial to all of them. And then today I'm doing a door knocking and dropping something off. But my point is that Chicago Title and Brian has just been phenomenal on really helping us agents, because who's really out there helping us? And for $10 a year, come on, let's not even talk about it. It's just stupid. So who's really helping us? And, you know, I just want to thank Brian so much, because he's really helping me with my business right now. And I encourage everyone to get on the app and really play around with it, because it is so robust. Brian just showed us a couple things, but there's really so much more there.
Definitely. And yeah, I definitely recommend, you know, wherever you're at in the country, to, you know, first sit down with a Chicago Title rep if you can, but really use us. We are a resource. And, you know, again, this is just one tool that we have. We really do have many others to help all facets of your business. So, and it's good. You really should, you know, sit down with your title, you know, agent, you know, a few times a year and really just kind of strategize. You know, this is a great time of the year to be doing it, to set goals, you know, plans, budgets, things like that going into the new year. And that's something that, you know, we can 100% help you with.
I love it. If anybody has questions, now would be the time. If you want to ask Brian any questions on there, if you have comments and things like that. Jacob Belt from Boston says, "This is and was awesome. Thank you so much. I'm off to slay the dragon." So he's getting out of here. As people are thinking up their questions, just so you know, we do these every Monday at noon Eastern time. We'd love for you to be on live so you can ask questions and things like that. I think you get more out of them doing live, but also bring a friend. We're trying to grow this thing. We're trying to learn from people from all over the country. As you know, we do record it. We have a YouTube channel. If you'd like to see the YouTube channel, Why Grow Global, we have that. We also have a website that details all of our different events and things that we have that are coming up. And next Monday, we're going to be having on Drew Schrader and also Rob Mager, and they're going to be talking about how to make $250,000 in GCI in your first 3 years. Exactly how to do it step by step and how you could do it. So if you're not an old timer, but a seasoned agent like us, it's always good to be able to go back to the basics and hear what people are doing. But Drew and Rob have been very successful. And they're going to be out of the Indianapolis marketplace, so they're going to be talking to us exactly how to do it. So it'd be a great way to invite other agents on there, especially agents maybe they didn't have as great a 2023 as they wanted to have. This is going to launch everybody's 2024 and get everybody off to a big start. Do we have any questions for Brian before we let him go here? We're going to be jumping off here in a second. Nick Boehm says out of New Jersey, says, "So much value in the app and your presentation. Thank you so much, Brian." And Rob Mager said, "Great stuff this week. See you next week." And we will see you, Rob, because you're going to be one of the ones talking on there. We also have a Facebook group we'd love to invite you to, where you can jump on and you can interact with people there. And so we have a YouTube channel, we have a website, and then we also have a Facebook group where you can go there. You can see upcoming events and things that are going on with that. So any questions? If not, we're going to call it a Monday and get everybody out there and going after it. As Jacob Belt said, get out there and slay the dragon. Brian, I wanted to say thank you so much. Great stuff on this. As you were talking, I was downloading the app like everybody else here was, I think, and we'll be getting signed up with that. Brian's email is in the chat box. Go ahead and download the chat. If you have a question for him, he can direct you as to where you need to go. And if you need a good agent title rep in your area, he can get you hooked up with that. Jennifer says, prayers for all those in the path of the recent hurricanes, and hope everyone is okay. And also the tornadoes. Big group of our agents down in Tennessee got hit with the tornadoes down there. So we'll say a prayer for all of them. Jennifer Mendoza says tornadoes. Sorry. That's all right, Jennifer. You're from Southern California. You guys don't see tornadoes much down there. Probably the only thing you see is Pacific hurricanes down there. So thanks everybody for jumping on. Get out there and kill it. We'll be back on next Monday at noon. Make sure you jump on. It's going to be a great talk on how to make $250,000. If you're already doing that, well, you're going to like it. It's going to provide you some basics to get you back to basics. But bring on your newer agents, bring on your seasoned agents, and we'll have a great one next Monday. Same link, realtormastermind.live. Again, noon Eastern Standard Time. Brian, thank you so much for jumping on. We appreciate this. The recording we posted, we'll get booted up here and loaded up in the next day or two to the websites so people can watch it, and also you can review it and get yourself, download the app, get out there, put it out there on social media, guys, blast it everywhere. If you're the only person talking about it and showing this information, everybody's going to think you're the only one that has it, and that'll differentiate you in the marketplace, generate some business and get going. So thanks a lot. Talk all to you soon. Michael Swift says, thanks, guys and gals. Have a great week. Go sell something. That's right, baby. Let's go get it. Rob Bader says, thanks, Brian. He uses this app quite a bit, and he's great info and appreciates the help. So thanks. Thanks, everybody, for jumping on. Bye, everyone. Have a great week.